17 minutes after leaving the office with the biggest smile of my life, I walked into the delivery room ready to meet my child. But the moment I saw the baby in my wife's arms, everything stopped. His skin was brown. Mine isn't. Emily isn't. There was no way he was mine. Her mother tried to block the door. Emily cried. And suddenly, I had less than 24 hours to decide sign the birth certificate or lose everything I'd built with her over the past 5 years. But what crushed me more than the betrayal was what I found next. This wasn't a mistake. It was a plan, months in the making, a setup. I found the emails, the messages. She was going to trap me into raising a child that wasn't mine. This wasn't just about heartbreak anymore. It was about fighting back for my name, my future, and the truth. Stay with me. You won't believe what the court decided. My name is Jack Turner. I'm 38, and if there's one thing people know about me, it's that I don't bend. Discipline, stability, integrity. That's what I've built my life on. In the office, I'm the investment manager you call when the market turns red, when panic spreads, and everyone else is ready to sell. At home, I'm the man who fixes the leaky faucet before anyone asks, the man who never forgets an anniversary. My colleagues respect me. My neighbors trust me. And my wife, I thought she loved me. For years, the one piece missing was a child. Fatherhood was the role I longed for, the title I wanted most. And when Emily told me she was pregnant, it felt like everything I had stood for, everything I had sacrificed, was finally leading somewhere. I wasn't just preparing for a baby. I was preparing to pass on my values, my blood, my name. Emily and I had been married 5 years. On the surface, we were solid. We laughed at the same stupid sitcoms. We spent lazy Sundays cooking together, arguing about whether garlic bread needed more butter. But beneath it all was the quiet ache of failed fertility treatments, the endless cycles of hope and disappointment. Month after month, we rode that roller coaster together. When she finally came to me with the news positive test, trembling hands, tears running down her cheeks, I pulled her into my arms and believed with everything in me that our suffering had meaning. We had survived the worst, and now we would share the best. I told everyone at the office. I framed the ultrasound on my desk. Emily glowed, and I glowed with her. I thought this baby was the answer to every silent prayer I'd whispered at night. I thought it would bind us closer than ever before. The upstairs room became my kingdom. I spent hours painting it a soft yellow, Emily's choice. Neutral, she said, in case we didn't want to know the gender. I laughed, but I loved the idea. Every brushstroke felt like a promise that soon a child would sleep here, safe, loved mine. I built the crib, checked every screw twice. On the shelf sat a cream-colored teddy bear with a blue bow tie. I had bought it weeks before on a lunch break, walking out of the store with it tucked under my arm, like it was already part of the family. Sometimes I catch myself standing in the doorway of that room, staring at the little bear, imagining laying it gently in the crib. In those moments, I wasn't an investment manager or even a husband. I was already a father, and I thought Emily saw that in me too. The months leading up to the birth were filled with little rituals that felt monumental. We attended prenatal classes where I clumsily swaddled plastic dolls, making Emily laugh so hard she cried. She'd tease me saying I'd be the most over-prepared dad in the ward. At midnight, she craved chocolate fudge ice cream, and I'd drive across town just to see her smile when I handed her the pint. At doctor's visits, I held her hand, my thumb, tracing small circles over her knuckles. I felt every kick against her belly, every reminder that life was forming inside her. Each name we debated, classic or modern, strong or gentle, felt like a glimpse of our future. I wasn't just imagining a child. I was imagining bike rides, baseball games, late-night talks when the world seemed too heavy. I was imagining my legacy alive in the heartbeat I thought I was protecting. I believed the delivery day would be the climax of everything we had endured. Every disappointment, every injection, every late-night drive for cravings, it all pointed here. September 12th would be the day I became a father. I pictured it over and over, Emily in the bed, exhausted but glowing, me at her side, a doctor placing a newborn into my arms. I would look down and see myself in miniature, my eyes, my nose, my blood. That's what I thought awaited me. I carried that image like a shield, protecting me from every doubt. On that morning, as I straightened my tie and placed the teddy bear on the passenger seat, I told myself, today is the start of everything. I had no idea it was actually the end of the life I thought I knew, and the beginning of a truth I wasn't ready to face. It was 2:47 in the afternoon when my phone buzzed. Emily's text lit up the screen. "The baby's here! St. Matthew Regional." My heart slammed against my ribs. This was it, the moment I'd been waiting for, the one I'd dreamed about in every yellow-painted corner of that nursery. I didn't hesitate. I shoved the report I was reviewing into a drawer, grabbed my jacket, and stood. My hands were shaking as I typed a quick reply, but my brain was already 2 steps ahead. The drive, the hospital, the room, the first cry. My chest tightened, not with fear, but with joy so sharp it almost hurt. For years, fatherhood had been a word that felt just out of reach. And now, with one short message, it was suddenly here, demanding I drop everything. And I did. I left my office behind. I left the man I was behind. I poked my head into Ethan Ross's office. He looked up from his computer grinning. Before I even spoke, "She's here." I blurted the baby Emily just texted. Ethan pushed back from his desk, stood up, and slapped me on the back. "Then what the hell are you doing here? Go be a dad, Jack." His laughter followed me as I ran down the hall. He called out, "I'll cover with Davidson. Just go." The word dad echoed in my ears like a blessing. I'd been Emily's husband for 5 years, but dad, that was new, sacred, everything I wanted. As the elevator doors closed, I caught my reflection in the mirrored panel. Ty, slightly crooked eyes, wide with adrenaline, and I thought, this is the last time I'll ride this elevator as just Jack Turner. Next time, I'll be someone else entirely a father. I slid behind the wheel, heart pounding. The cream-colored teddy bear sat in the passenger seat, its blue bow tie almost mocking my shaking hands. I gripped the steering wheel knuckles white and pulled out of the garage. The city blurred past as if it understood I was in a race against time. Every red light that turned green felt like fate clearing the way. I kept glancing at that teddy bear. It wasn't just a toy. It was a symbol. It meant responsibility, love, a future I believed was mine. Each block I passed, my chest swelled tighter with anticipation. The thought kept circling, in less than 20 minutes, I'll be holding my child. Every hum of the engine was a countdown to the moment I had been chasing for years. I was no longer a man on his way to work. I was a father on his way home. The closer I got to St. Matthew Regional, the heavier the air felt. The sunlight turned from warm to blinding, pressing against the windshield. My heart was no longer racing with joy. It was thudding with a weight I couldn't name. At a stoplight, I looked at the teddy again, smiled, and forced myself to breathe. But something inside me tightened. A whisper I didn't want to hear? What if I shook it off? There was no reason for nerves. Emily had texted me her mother was with her. Everything was fine. But my grip on the wheel stayed hard, as if bracing for impact. I counted the minutes, 16, 15, 14. Each number echoed in my chest. I was so close, but the joy that had carried me from the office sets was now tangled with something colder, and I didn't yet understand why. As I pulled into the hospital parking lot, my phone buzzed again. "Carol, my mother-in-law. Are you almost here?" 4 words. Flat. No exclamation points. No congratulations. Just flat. For a woman who had cooed over every ultrasound, knitted little hats, and fussed about baby names, it felt wrong. I frowned at the screen, trying to brush it off. Maybe she was just tired from the night before. Maybe she was worried about Emily's recovery, but the lack of joy pressed on me like a warning I couldn't quite place. I typed back, "Just parked," and tucked the phone away. The spring breeze carried the scent of dogwoods across the lot, a scent that should have calmed me. Instead, it felt like a veil over something darker. I quickened my pace toward the sliding glass doors, forcing myself to believe nothing was wrong. The doors parted with a soft whoosh, releasing a wave of sterile, conditioned air. The lobby buzzed with voices, families carrying balloons, visitors with bouquets. I walked past them, barely seeing their joy. My pulse drowned everything out. The elevator to the maternity ward waited like a gateway. As the doors closed, the chatter faded, leaving only the hum of the motor and the echo of my heartbeat. My reflection in the metal doors stared back, face flushed, tie, loosened eyes burning with a mix of nerves and anticipation. This was it. In minutes, I'd be upstairs meeting the child I believed was mine. The weight in my chest grew heavier, but I told myself it was just adrenaline, just excitement. I pressed the button for the 4th floor, whispering under my breath, "Almost there, almost a father." When the elevator doors slid open on the 4th floor, the noise fell away. The hallway was quiet, smelling faintly of antiseptic and flowers. My shoes squeaked against polished tile as I followed the signs to room 412. And then I saw her, Carol, standing guard like a sentinel outside the door. Her navy dress looked sharper than usual, her arms crossed tight. Her eyes were red. She stepped forward, blocking my path. "Jack," she said softly, her voice trembling, "I think you should wait out here." Confusion snapped through me. Wait, for what? Her lips pressed thin. "It's complicated." Her gaze darted toward the door, then back to me. My pulse spiked. I tightened my grip on the teddy bear. "Is something wrong with Emily? With the baby?" She didn't answer. The silence was worse than words. I tried again, sharper this time. "What's going on?" Carol hesitated, her eyes wide, her body angled as if she could shield me from what was inside. She raised a trembling hand, pressing it against my chest. "Please, Jack, just listen to me. Give me a moment with her first." Her voice cracked, but her words only fueled the dread curling in my stomach. "Protect me." From what my heartbeat pounded in my ears, drowning out the sterile hallway. I searched her face for answers, but all I saw was fear. A kind of fear I'd never seen from her before. And in that moment, the whisper inside me grew louder. Something was wrong, terribly wrong, and no matter how much she wanted to delay it, I needed to see the truth for myself. Her hand pressed harder against me, but I brushed it aside. "That's my wife in there. That's my child in there." My voice was low, resolute. Carol's face paled. I stepped forward, the teddy bear slipping from my grasp, hitting the floor with a muffled thud. I didn't even look down. My hand closed around the doorknob, slick with sweat. Carol whispered, "I'm trying to protect you," but I wasn't listening anymore. The truth was inches away, and nothing, not fear, not denial, not even family was going to stop me. I turned the knob, pushed the door open, and stepped into the light. My pulse thundered. My world was about to fracture, and I knew in some part of me there would be no way back. Sunlight poured into the room, flooding it with a golden glow. Flowers on the windowsill machines beeping steadily. The faint scent of antiseptic, all details I'd imagined in happier dreams. And there was Emily, hair damp, face flushed, cradling a small bundle in her arms. For a heartbeat, my chest swelled. This is it. This is fatherhood. I took one step closer. Emily's eyes lifted, and in them, I saw surprise, then fear. My gaze dropped to the child. Warm brown skin, tiny hands against a white blanket, a face that bore nothing of me. The warmth in my chest collapsed into ice. My breath caught. My mind scrambled for explanations, but there were none. In one glance, everything I had built, everything I had believed, shattered. And I understood with a clarity that cut like glass, this was not my child. The room blurred at the edges like someone had smeared my vision with a thumb. Sunlight hit the white blanket, and there, small fingers, warm, brown skin, a face that wasn't mine. My chest locked. 1,000 explanations crashed over each other. Adoption, a mix-up, a joke so cruel it couldn't be real. But Emily's eyes told me the truth. Surprise, then fear, then a plea she hadn't voiced yet. The monitor kept a steady rhythm, indifferent to the wreckage inside me. I opened my mouth, closed it, opened it again. My throat felt raw and dry, like I'd swallowed ash. I took one step forward and another back, as if distance might rewrite what I was seeing. "No," I heard myself say, barely a breath. The word didn't change anything. Nothing changed. The image held my wife a newborn and a truth that didn't include me. Emily lifted her chin, tears glassing her eyes. "Jack, I can explain." The words floated toward me, fragile as tissue, useless as smoke. "Explain what?" I asked, my voice thin with disbelief. "Explain this." I stared at the child and felt my jaw tighten until it ached. Emily shifted the baby higher against her chest as if she could hide him inside her heartbeat. "It didn't mean anything," she whispered. "I made a mistake." The room felt hot, too bright. I rubbed my temple, trying to slow the thoughts ricocheting inside my skull. A mistake was the wrong coffee or a missed anniversary. A mistake didn't weigh 7 pounds and breathe. "How long?" I said, hardly recognizing my own voice. "How long have you known there was a chance she wouldn't look at me?" That, more than anything, made my stomach turn. "I made a mistake," she said again, desperate, as if repetition might sand down the edges. Heat surged through me. Not shouting heat, but the colder kind, sharp, controlled. "No," I said, steady now. "Forgetting our dinner reservation is a mistake. This is a choice. A series of choices." My hand shook as I gestured, and I shoved it into my pocket to keep it still. You chose to cheat. You chose to hide it. And now you're choosing to ask me to pretend. A tear broke and slid down her cheek. I was scared, she said. We wanted a family. I wanted us. I swallowed a bitter laugh that burned my tongue. You wanted the comfort of a lie, I said. The monitor beeped. The flowers on the sill smelled too sweet. The room had everything I ever wanted, and none of it belonged to me. Who is he? I asked, the words landing like a gavel inside my head. Emily's face closed her mouth, a thin line. It doesn't matter, she murmured. It matters to me, I said. It matters to truth. My voice dipped steadier than I felt. I let the silence stretch, willing her to fill it. She rocked the baby in small, helpless circles. Please, Jack, she said. Can we just get through today? The request was so ordinary, it felt obscene. Through today, I repeated, we're not talking about a bad week. We're talking about a life you tried to hand me without consent. My chest rose and fell like I'd run a mile. Who is he? I asked again. Emily stared at the baby instead of me, and in that choice, I heard the answer. Whoever he wasn't stepping up. And she expected me to. The door clicked, and Carol slipped inside, eyes red-rimmed, hands folded like she was bracing for a storm. Jack, she whispered, please. I turned on her, something hard shaping my words. You knew. She flinched. I found out when the baby was born, she said, voice fraying. I wanted Emily to tell you herself. I tasted metal. You stood in the hall to keep me from the truth, I said. That wasn't protection. That was interference. Carol's gaze fell, shame pooling in the space between us. Emily's breath hitched. I didn't want to lose you, she said. Then you should have protected us before you crossed the line, I answered. The baby let out a small cry, a thin cut through the tension. I looked at him, innocent, blameless, and hated that he was born into this. None of this was his fault, but none of it was mine either. Emily steadied herself. We can still be a family, she said, hope and panic braided together. Just sign the birth certificate. We'll figure the rest out. The words landed like a slap. Sign, I repeated, quiet, dangerous. You want me to claim a child I didn't father? You're my husband, she said, grasping for vows. For better or worse. The vows included fidelity, I said. Did you forget that part? My ribs felt tight, breath shallow. I'm not signing anything. Color drained from her face. A DNA test, she said, incredulous. You do that to me. To protect the truth, I cut in. To protect my future. The baby whimpered, and I felt something cave inside my chest. But it wasn't surrender. It was grief curdling into resolve. Paper could chain me to a lie. Proof could free me. I chose proof. The baby's cry sharpened small lungs, insisting on a world that didn't yet make sense. A part of me, the part that had painted a nursery and practiced swaddling, reached for him without moving. My hands tightened on air. I forced them to stay at my sides. Jack, Emily said, seizing the sound, he needs a father. He has one, I said softly. It isn't me. Her face crumpled. We can get past this. Counseling time. We can't therapize a paternity test, I said. We can't counsel our way out of facts. My voice surprised me. No shouting, just steel. I won't sign. I won't pretend. If there's any path forward, it starts with honesty. And right now, that means testing paperwork lawyers. The words tasted like ash, but they were the only ones that didn't feel like treason to myself. I had to draw the line, and I did. I looked at Carol, the tremor in her hands, the way she hovered between us like a broken bridge. How long have you been covering for her? I asked. Her eyes flashed guilt, then defense. I told you I only found out today. But you tried to stall me, I said. You stood at the door to buy time for a lie. She swallowed. I was trying to prevent a scene. There's already a scene, I said, sweeping a hand at the fragile tableau, mother-child wrecked husband. It just isn't the one you wanted. A heavy quiet fell. The monitor ticked on. Flowers wilted in their vases, or maybe I imagined it. I felt suddenly painfully aware of my heartbeat, like a fist knocking from the inside. I couldn't breathe in that room without inhaling the lie. I needed air. I needed ground that didn't tilt. I backed toward the door, the decision settling in my bones like a verdict. I'm not signing anything today, I said, each word cleanly cut, not without a test. Emily's mouth opened closed. Carol reached out but didn't touch me. I turned the handle and stepped into the hall. The teddy bear lay where I dropped it earlier, blue bow tie, bright against the floor. I paused just long enough to feel the sting of what that little bear had meant. Then I stepped over it. My shoes clicked on tile, each footfall a metronome counting down to whatever came next. The corridor felt colder now, wider, like I was walking into a different life. Maybe I was. The elevator button glowed. I pressed it and waited jaw tight, hands empty. When the doors slid open, I stepped inside and didn't look back. The elevator doors closed, sealing me in with my reflection askew eyes hard. A man split down the center. 10 minutes ago, I was on the verge of everything I'd wanted. Now I was standing in a metal box stripped of the story I'd written for my life. Grief rose up, hot choking, and I swallowed it until it cooled into something else. Not rage, not even sorrow. Focus. The descent hummed under my feet. By the time the doors opened to the lobby, the path was clear proof, not panic. Evidence, not arguments. I would go home. I would comb through emails, messages, timelines. I would call a lawyer. I would protect the next 20 years of my life from a signature made in shock. I walked out into the bright hospital lobby feeling hollow and somehow steadier. I didn't have answers, but I knew how to find them. The front door clicked behind me, and the house swallowed the sound like it was ashamed. The air smelled the same coffee grounds, lemon cleaner, a faint ribbon of Emily's vanilla perfume. But it felt wrong, like someone had moved the walls a few inches while I was gone. The cream couch where we watched reruns, the kitchen island where we danced to old songs, the yellow-painted nursery upstairs humming like a memory I didn't trust anymore. I loosened my tie and dropped it on the counter. My phone buzzed across the granite. Emily again and again. I let it vibrate itself still. Every room in this place used to steady me. Now each one pitched a little like the floorboards had given up on pretending. I took a breath so deep, it hurt, then another. I needed proof. Proof would turn this house from a crime scene back into a map. I climbed the stairs and stood in the doorway of the nursery. The soft yellow walls soaked up the afternoon light. The crib waited in the corner rails smooth under my hand, every screw I double-checked, still holding. On the shelf, the cream-colored teddy with the blue bow tie looked exactly as I'd left it, patient, expectant. I remembered painting these walls in slow strokes, Emily teasing me for taping the corners like a contractor. I remembered debating names until the words felt like prayers. The room held my preparation like a museum of intent, swaddles, folded diapers, stacked in precise rows, a mobile that would spin stars over a sleeping face. I stood there until the ache turned from warm to metallic. This room wasn't a promise anymore. It was evidence of who I meant to be. I closed the door gently as if not to wake a dream and went looking for the truth. Emily's office smelled like vanilla and paper. The laptop sat centered on the desk, the way she leaves everything tidy intentional. I opened the lid. The screen flared to life, asking for the password. My fingers moved before my head did. 0922. Our wedding date. The keyboard clicked, and the desktop bloomed, a Cape Coast sunset we took years ago, orange bleeding into water. The cursor hovered. My pulse hammered in my wrist. I opened mail. Inbox, ordinary work memos, order, confirmations, group chats. Then my eye caught the drafts folder. 37. I didn't breathe as I clicked, the subject lines stacked like ledgers, neat and damning. I could feel heat rising under my collar, the same heat you get when the market plunges and you realize the warning signs were there, only you were busy believing in tomorrow. I clicked the first draft and the room closed in. Ryan. The name sat at the top like a stain you can't wash out. I scanned the first lines. We need to talk about what happens when the baby comes. It'll be easier if you keep your distance. Jack can't know. It would destroy everything. The blood roared in my ears loud enough to drown the clock on the wall. She had written his name. She had planned their silence together. I dragged the cursor slowly, highlighting each sentence, forcing myself to see the words instead of flinching past them. The attachments field was empty. The tone wasn't. Calm. Calculating. Managing outcomes, the kind of voice I used with clients when steering a bad quarter into a soft landing. I took a screenshot, then another. My hand shook only once. I told it to stop. I saved the draft as a PDF and labeled it D1 Ryan Cole Plan Language.pdf. The next draft was shorter, colder. Jack can't know. He'll make it complicated. 7 words that hit harder than a confession. I felt something metallic press up under my ribs. The body knows when a boundary is violated, even before the mind catches up. I zoomed in on the timestamp on the date header on the exact minute she typed those letters. I listened to the house breathe behind me. I thought about all the nights I rubbed her back while she fell asleep on the couch, the weight of my palm, like a promise. I thought about how easy it is to look someone in the eye and lie if you practice. Another screenshot, another PDF. D2, Jack can't know time stamped. PDF. I stared at the subject line until the edges of the screen wavered. Then I scrolled slow and steady, like lowering a body into truth. I skimmed the stack. June, July, August, September. Subject lines changed tone, cautious, then managerial, then directive. Keep your distance. We'll figure it out once he signs. Don't text me when I'm home. I stopped on the earliest draft mid-June. That's when she began shaping the lie into something with a spine. I opened a notes document and started a timeline, date, time, recipient, summary, keywords. The columns filled like a ledger. I exported each draft to PDF, then saved the raw.eml for the headers, preserving the metadata. I right-clicked properties, noted create, modify stamps, took captures of the file info. The numbers steadied me. Math has no sympathy. It only has truth. 37 drafts meant months of intention, months of a life built beside mine, not with me. I created a folder on the desktop, evidence. The word looked indecent and necessary. I needed a second set of eyes, a witness to the gathering. I called Ethan. He answered on the second ring. You home? He asked. Yeah, I said. I found something. I need help archiving. He didn't ask what. On my way, he said. 20 minutes later, he was in my doorway, tie loosened, face set. I turned the screen toward him and opened the drafts folder. He read the first lines and exhaled a quiet, Jesus. He handed me a USB from his pocket, the kind we give clients for pitch decks. Let's copy everything. Raw files, PDFs, screenshots. We won't edit. We won't touch the originals. His practical calm tightened the chaos in my head into a coil. We name consistently, he said. We keep a log. I nodded. We treat this like discovery, I said. He met my eyes. Exactly. We worked in a rhythm, open capture, export, verify. I created subfolders, emails, screenshots, timeline, phone logs, and we fed them one by one. I kept a running sheet with hashes for the PDFs, timestamps for every save notes on what was opened and when. Ethan narrated as he watched. This one shows premeditation. This one shows concealment. This one intent. We took photos of the laptop screen with my phone for redundancy, the way accident investigators document a scene from multiple angles. Every few minutes, my phone buzzed on the desk. Texts, missed calls, voicemails from Emily. I didn't open them yet. I just screenshotted the alerts and dropped them into phone logs. The evidence folder grew heavy, like a full safe. The weight wasn't comfort, but it was structure. Proof was building its own architecture around me, beam by beam. When we backed up the last draft, I sat back and felt the exhaustion flood my limbs. Proof alone wasn't enough. Proof needed direction. I thought of Andrew Klein, family law, the guy clients whispered about when negotiations got hard. We'd met through a mutual contact at a fundraiser. Even then, he'd radiated the kind of quiet that says, I don't bluff. I pulled his card from a drawer I almost never open. The edges were crisp, like it had been waiting. Ethan watched me and nodded once, as if answering a question I hadn't asked. You're doing the right thing, he said. The right thing didn't feel good. It felt necessary. I closed the laptop, slid the USB into my pocket, and stared at the word evidence until it stopped blurring. Then I picked up the phone and dialed. His receptionist answered on the second ring, put me through faster than I expected. Jack Andrew said, voice low, professional, like a level pulled across a bowed floor. Tell me. I kept it tight. The hospital, the reveal, the drafts, the timeline. I have 37 emails dating back to June. Screenshots, PDFs, raw files. I said, good. He replied, first rule, do not sign anything. Not at the hospital, not anywhere. Second, preserve everything. Forward the raw EML files to a new folder and share a read-only link with me. Third, from this moment on, communicate in writing. If she calls, log the time. If you record, make sure your state law allows one-party consent. He paused, then added, we'll move quickly. My shoulders dropped a fraction, not relief alignment. The path narrowed, but it was clear. Understood, I said. I'm ready. Andrew's voice had the weight of a level finding true. From now on, you don't talk, you document, he said. Texts, screenshots, and exports. Calls if she rings, record. Cord, our state allows one-party consent. Keep a contemporaneous log time duration summary. Voicemails save the audio transcribe later. Don't editorialize, facts only. I opened a fresh spreadsheet, comms, log XLX, columns for date time, channel party summary file path. He kept going. Backups in triplicate local encrypted USB and cloud. Create read-only links for me. And Jack, no meeting in person, no signing anything. If the hospital pressures you refer them to me. I wrote as he spoke, the keystrokes, steadying my hands. Last thing he said, decide your boundary. If you answer, it's to capture, not to negotiate. You with me? I looked at the swelling evidence folder and felt something align inside my ribs. I'm with you, I said. Good, he replied. Then we move. The phone lit up with her name. I let it ring, twice hit record, and answered. Her voice came in raw. Jack, please, don't shut me out. We can fix this. I kept my tone flat. Fix what? A beat of silence. Then her words sped up, tripping over each other. I panicked. I didn't plan, okay? I planned a little, but it was because I was scared. I love you? The declaration landed like a stone in shallow water. I said nothing. She shifted tactics. Don't make this bigger than it has to be. We're married. We can move past it. People do. My jaw ticked. People don't rewrite paternity with a pen. The warmth bled from her voice. You're being cruel, she snapped. You're abandoning me. I looked at the cursor blinking in my log. Duration 412, content plea, minimize, blame. We're done talking, I said. Put it in writing. I ended the call, saved the file, 2023-09-12, call, Emily 1618 date, 4A. I dragged it into evidence, phone logs, and typed the path into the log. Then I added a screenshot of the call screen for redundancy timestamp, caller ID signal strength, small details that build credibility in court. I opened the recording and scrubbed through placing markers where her tone shifted, noting phrases that mattered. Fix this. Didn't plan. You're abandoning me. I exported a copy to the USB in Ethan's pocket and to a cloud folder Andrew could access read-only. I took a breath. The sound of my own voice on playback surprised me, measured distant like a witness giving testimony from inside my chest. Proof has a temperature. It wasn't hot anymore. It was clean and cold, and it made a different kind of sense than pain ever could. A minute later, voicemail. I didn't let it sit. I tapped play and listened to Emily's voice teeter between pleading and command. Jack, think about the baby. He needs a father. Don't do this to us. Think about the baby, a phrase designed to pry open guilt with a crowbar. I saved the file VM, Emily 11626. Think about the baby, M4A. I wrote a one-line summary in the log. No adjectives, no size. Then I made a transcript header and typed the words slowly, exactly as spoken with time codes. I pinned a note in the margin, child is innocent, manipulation is not. It was for me, not the courtroom. The nursery upstairs flickered in my mind, soft yellow-blue bow. I let the picture pass like weather and turned back to the work. Evidence is a kind of mercy. It keeps you from rewriting the story to make it hurt less. The next message didn't bother with softness. If you don't sign, you'll regret it. No hearts, no qualifiers. I felt my pulse jump a small spike on a flat line. I took 3 screenshots, message view, contact detail, and the phone's date time overlay. I exported the whole thread to PDF file, stamped it, and dropped it into evidence, our phone logs, full text as TXT Emily. If you don't sign, 1629. PDF. In the log, I wrote, threat implied coercion, rebirth certificate. I stared at the sentence until the words settled into their shape. Threats are useful. They show motive. They show intent. They turn panic into pressure. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. Andrew's voice was in my head. Decide your boundary. If you answer, it's to capture, not to negotiate. I typed my reply into notes, first reading it like I didn't know the man who wrote it. I copied the text from notes, pasted it into the message field, and pressed send. Put Ryan's name on it. 3 seconds, then the pulsing dots of someone composing a new story to survive in. The reply didn't come right away. I photographed the screen with my old work phone, catching the glow of the dots, the digital equivalent of a flinch. I logged my message as a boundary statement. No emotion, no apology, no bargaining. I wasn't in the business of comforting lies anymore. Downstairs, the refrigerator motor kicked on a familiar hum in a house that didn't feel familiar. I checked the timestamp. I added a note for Andrew, clear directive to name biofather, establishes refusal to consent under pressure. The dots kept pulsing. I waited not because I needed her answer, but because her answer would belong in a file. Her reply arrived like a door closing. He won't. He left. 2 sentences that said more than she meant them to. I screenshotted, then typed the words into the log and added a column note. Biofather unwilling. Abandonment context. I felt a hollow place inside me register the finality of that 2 people running from the truth in opposite directions and asking me to hold the rope between them. I scrolled up the thread, the pleas, the threats, the insistence on a signature like it could conjure reality. I wrote a second note for Andrew pattern premeditation, plus pressure, plus third-party absence. The dots flickered again, then died. The phone went still in my hand. Upstairs, a floorboard settled with a dry pop. The house had a language I understood. So did the evidence. Both were saying the same thing. Stand where you are. I typed without looking away from the screen. Not my problem. You made your choice. Live with it. I hit send, then added, from this point forward, all communication goes through my attorney, Andrew Klein. I saved the thread again, whole and intact, and set a silent alert for any new messages, routing them to a folder with an auto backup rule. I didn't block her. Andrew had been clear, you don't shut off the valve, you attach a gauge. You don't fuel the fire, you record the heat. I felt the strange calm that comes after a boundary holds. In my head, the line tightened. I won't sign. I won't pretend. I won't be coerced. I closed messages, opened evidence, and watched the folder tree like a city map at night lit windows, where truth lived dark spaces where hope used to sleep. The results came back 2 days later at Andrew's office, a single sheet placed on the table between us. I knew before my eyes found the number, still seeing 0% probability of paternity, printed in clean black, sent a quiet shock through my bones like stepping into cold water. Andrew said nothing. I appreciated that. Silence is the right music for truth. I took a photo of the page, then a second with the envelope visible, then a scan for the digital file, DNA AJ report 0PC.pdf. We added it to the packet with the email PDFs, the call recordings, the texts. The room felt level. My breathing did too. This doesn't hurt the way I thought it would, I said. It clarifies. Andrew nodded. Clarity often looks like loss at first. I slid the report into the evidence binder and felt something lock into place. Grief was over. The work wasn't. Andrew's phone buzzed as we were finishing the packet. He listened, eyes narrowing, then covered the mic. Hospital, he said. A nurse reports Emily tried to file the birth certificate listing you as father after the DNA results. The word after hit like a gavel. He spoke briefly, then hung up. We'll get a sworn statement, he said. Name Diane Patel. He answered already, jotting it down. I felt anger try to ignite. It didn't catch. I'd run out of fuel for outrage. What I had left was prosecution. We pulled the timeline forward on the whiteboard DNA issued. Attempted filing. Intent drew itself in ink. I typed a header on a new document post-DNA actions and logged the call. This isn't panic, I said. It's paperwork. Andrew's mouth twitched, not a smile. And paperwork, he said, is very easy to put in front of a judge. Andrew arranged the interview in a small conference room off the maternity ward. Nurse Diane Patel arrived in navy scrubs, hair neatly pinned, eyes steady in the way of people who live with emergencies. She opened her notebook without prompting. Day after delivery, she said, voice even, Mrs. Turner asked for the paperwork to list you as father. I told her both parents usually sign together. She glanced at me, then back to Andrew. She insisted we process it without you, said you were unavailable. Andrew's pen didn't pause. Did she mention a DNA test? Diane's brow creased. No. When I raised the possibility, she said it wasn't necessary. Andrew slid a single page forward. Please read this statement and tell me if it's accurate. Diane scanned, nodded once, then signed with a firm hand. The pen scratched like a small verdict. I thanked her. She met my eyes and said simply, I'm sorry. I believed she was, but sorry isn't evidence. Her affidavit was. 2 days later, Andrew's investigator sent a brief email, subject Cole. Inside a line or two, a DMV change of address, a timestamp. Ryan Cole had left the state Nevada. No forwarding phone, no employer on file. A vanishing act drawn in public records. I stared at the map pin, a dot dragging the problem across state lines like distance could bleach responsibility. Andrew added a note to the case summary, biofather unavailable. Abandonment context. In the quiet of his office, I felt a strange calm at the clarity of it. This wasn't a love triangle. It was a collapse, and I'd been slated to be the scaffold. Ryan ran. Emily reached for a pen. Both moves said the same thing: let Jack carry it. I looked at the USB in my pocket, heavy as a promise to myself. Not this time. Not for the next 18 years. We moved from collection to construction. Andrew cleared a conference table and laid out the spine: petition for divorce complaint, re-attempted paternity, fraud, motion to vacate any improperly filed birth certificate entries, request for attorney's fees and sanctions. He pointed with his pen as he spoke. Chronology wins cases. We tell time better than anyone. He stacked our exhibits: A email drafts 37 PDFs plus raw IMLB DNA report, percent paternity. C Nurse Patel's affidavit, D call recordings and transcripts, E text thread, including threats and refusal to sign. He handed me a highlighter. Underline verbs, he said. They show intent. Can't know. Keep distance. Once he signs. The page glowed like a confession written in present tense. You'll testify, he said. Short sentences. Facts. No speeches. I nodded. I didn't want speeches. I wanted the sound of paper landing where it belonged. The courthouse rose in pale stone against a blue, indifferent sky. Inside, the air smelled like varnish and paper old decisions. I sat at our table, the wood cool under my palms, and looked across the aisle. Emily kept her eyes on the grain in front of her fingers, folding and unfolding a tissue. Her attorney spoke to her in low tones. Carol sat behind them, face tight, a handkerchief clenched white. Andrew arranged our exhibits in neat stacks, each tab a thin, numbered doorway. The bailiff called the room to order. Judge Dana Whitaker took the bench calm alert, the kind of presence that makes noise sit down. When she looked up, the room steadied. Andrew leaned close. Remember, he said, proof, not pain. I nodded. The clerk swore us all in. For the first time since the hospital, I felt a floor under me that didn't move. Andrew rose, buttoned his jacket, and stepped into the open space with the quiet confidence of someone who has more facts than flourishes. Your Honor, he began. This is a case about intent. He lifted Exhibit A. Over 6 months, Mrs. Turner composed 37 drafts discussing concealment timing and strategy. Her words: Jack can't know. Keep your distance. Once he signs. He set the stack down, precise. Exhibit B, a state-certified DNA report, 0% probability of paternity. He tapped the page. Science. He lifted Exhibit C. A nurse's sworn statement after receiving the DNA result. Mrs. Turner still attempted to file a birth certificate listing my client as the father, and to do so without his presence. He let the silence hold. This is not panic. This is deliberate fraud designed to bind a man to 18 years of obligations he does not owe. He nodded once. Sat. The words stayed standing. Emily's attorney rose with practiced softness, palms open to the bench. Your Honor, we do not dispute the hurt, she said, but we ask the court to see context. A first-time mother, abandoned by the biological father after years of fertility struggles. She acted from fear, not malice. She touched the edge of the table, voice nearly a whisper. Desperation does not make her a criminal. It makes her human. I felt the old ache stir, the one that wants to let mercy outrun facts. Then I pictured the drafts, the line, once he signs, the nurse's steady eyes. Desperation explains panic. It does not explain a plan. Andrew's pen rested on our timeline like a compass needle that would not spin. Judge Whitaker's face did not move. The argument settled in the room like dust that would not cover anything important. I took the stand, swore in, and sat with my hands folded to keep them still. Andrew kept it clean. Mr. Turner described the day of the birth. I did in straight lines, the text, the drive, the reveal. He handed me Exhibit A. What is this email drafts from my wife's account? I said. 37 of them. Please read the highlighted line. I read, once he signs the birth certificate, everything gets easier. My voice didn't crack. Truth held it up. How did you obtain these shared laptop? Shared password. I exported the drafts and preserved the metadata. He nodded. After the DNA result, 0%, I said. She still tried to file with my name. I looked at Judge Whitaker. This wasn't a moment. It was months. It wasn't fear. It was a plan. The room went quiet enough to hear the air vent hum. Andrew moved through the exhibits like a man laying track. The clerk marked each one. The tabs clicked into the record. He cued the call recording. Emily's voice filled the room. Think about the baby. Then the text, if you don't sign, you'll regret it. And my reply put Ryan's name on it. He didn't look at me when he played Nurse Patel's statement. He let her words do their work. She insisted we file without him. Exhibit B lay on the table like a spare blade, percent in black print. The judge asked few questions. The answers were dates, time signatures. Emily did not look up when her own sentences were read aloud. When Andrew finished, he stacked the exhibit square and rested his palm on top, as if to say, there is weight here, the kind that doesn't move when pushed. Judge Whitaker removed her glasses, set them on the bench, and looked at us one by one. The record is clear, she said, voice measured. The court finds by clear and convincing evidence that Mrs. Turner engaged in a sustained effort to misrepresent paternity and to secure Mr. Turner's legal acknowledgement despite scientific proof to the contrary. She turned a page. Accordingly, the petition for divorce is granted. Mr. Turner is adjudicated not the father and bears no parental rights or obligations. The finding of attempted paternity fraud will be entered. She paused. This is not a case of temporary panic. It is a case of premeditation. The gavel struck once simple final. I exhaled without realizing I'd been holding my breath. Across the aisle, Emily folded a tissue crumpled in her fist. I didn't feel victory. I felt alignment. Paper had been used to trap me. Paper had set me free. Outside the Stonebridge County Courthouse, the granite steps held the late sun like warm iron. Traffic murmured. A breeze carried a thread of dogwood, same scent as the hospital garden, the day everything broke. Ethan touched my shoulder. Andrew handed me the finalized orders paper that once threatened to chain me, now cut the lock clean. I looked back at the doors and felt the line I drew hold steady. It's not about being done. I said the words, fitting my mouth, like they'd been waiting there all along. It's about being free. The sentence echoed through the yellow nursery I painted, past the blue bow tie on a cream teddy, through recordings, timelines, signatures. Proof had rebuilt me where hope had failed. I stepped down into the light, lighter than I'd been in months. What would you have done differently in my place? Should filing a false birth certificate be a felony nationwide? Yes. No. Depends. Comment. Your take, share this case with a friend who needs it, and subscribe for the next file. Got a story? Send it in. Identities protected, truth required.